Today we'll be doing a recap of our trip to Walt Disney World that we just got back from yesterday. Hello and welcome to the Let's Go to Disney podcast. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Lucy.
Today is Monday, May 13th, and you're listening to episode 35, May 2024 Walt Disney World Trip Recap. Before we get into today's main topic, here's what's going on in the parks right now. It's been a minute since we've done news and a lot has happened, so let's get into it. The biggest news coming out of Walt Disney World just dropped yesterday, and we finally have an official announcement on the opening of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. It will open to all guests on June 28th. This is the culmination of a nearly 18-month transformation from Splash Mountain to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and we can't wait to see what it will be like. We got a glimpse of the outside of the attraction and shops when we were there, and it's looking great. Disney also shared that there will be previews for Disney Vacation Club members and annual pass holders. More details will be coming out on that front tomorrow, May 14th. Disney revealed dates for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and tickets are available to purchase as we speak. The first party date will be on August 9th, and there will be 38 parties through October 31st. There will be new costumes for Mickey and Minnie, more villain sightings than ever before, a Descent Dance Party, spelled D-A-N-C-E, at Rocket Tower Plaza stage in Tomorrowland. Bruno will join Mirabelle at her meet and greet location at Fairy Tale Gardens. And the first Boo-to-You parade at the party will be an hour earlier than previous years at 8:15 for the little partygoers. Disney announced that the Island Tower, the new DVC tower coming to the Polynesian, is expected to open in December of 2024. Disney shared a look at the lobby, which looks absolutely stunning. Booking will go live next month in June. Existing DVC members will be able to book on June 4th, annual pass holders on June 5th, and everyone else on June 6th. Prices, restaurants, and other details are pretty thin right now, but we'll keep our ear to the ground and share more of those details when they're released. We love the Polynesian and we're not DVC members. We've considered it seriously in recent years, and this might be when we finally buy in. Time will tell. Disney Cruise Line shared a closer look at the Haunted Mansion-themed lounge coming to the Disney Treasure, launching in December. It shared a look at the lore and characters that will be part of the story of the space, including a new ghost named the Mariner and a nautical-themed bride that switches from a gown with flowers to a mermaid look with a hatchet. Very similar to the bride in the Haunted Mansion attraction in the parks. It looks phenomenal, and we may have to cruise on the Treasure to check this out. We love Haunted Mansion. There was some big news on the Universal front that dropped last week just as we were leaving for our trip and we're catching up. So Universal released big details on Super Nintendo World, which will be one of the 5 new lands over in Epic Universe. The world will be split into 2 lands, Super Mario Land and Donkey Kong Country. Super Mario Land will feature 2 attractions, Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, which is very similar to the Universal Hollywood, if not exactly the same, and Yoshi's Adventure. Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge will be an interactive 4D experience where you'll try and defeat Team Bowser and win the Golden Cup. This has a 42-inch height requirement. Yoshi's Adventure will be a family, kid-friendly attraction. It'll take you on a scenic journey around the Mushroom Kingdom, and it'll have a 36-inch height requirement. In Super Mario Land, you'll also find Toadstool Cafe, which will feature themed food and snacks, just like at Universal Hollywood. There will also be 2 walk-up locations named Yoshi's Snack Island and Turbo Boost Treats. Donkey Kong Country will feature completely unique and new theming and will leave you truly immersed. The attraction in this area will be Minecart Madness. It'll be a thrill and innovative coaster that will have you feeling like you're on an actual mine train. Universal said it'll be all thrills, no screens. It'll have a 36-inch height requirement, and the interactive power-up bands that you see in Universal Hollywood will also be available in Orlando.
So with that being said, today we're going to recap our trip because we just got back yesterday, and like always, it's so bittersweet to come home. It's nice to sleep in your own bed and to be in the comfort of your own things, but we just love Disney World so much, and all of us, kids included, get major Disney blues when we come home. You might notice from my voice, I am very sick. That is something we also always come home with. One of us is always sick.
We always seem to come back with something, yeah.
But that's okay. Yeah. We rally.
Yeah, so I don't think we've mentioned this on the podcast before, but we, and specifically me, we always do an episode outline that keeps us on track when we record. And I started writing this outline when we had just taken off from Orlando Airport, like yesterday. Mm-hmm. It gave me some solace, right, to write about our experience as we were leaving. Like I always say, goodbye is never for too long because we're always planning the next trip. Also, as a quick note, this is our second recap episode since we launched the podcast, and I have to say, it's my favorite type of episode we do. It's basically reliving our trip, and I love that. We like to sprinkle in some of our favorite tips and tricks in these episodes to kind of show you guys that we practice what we preach. The advice that we suggest to you guys, we put into practice frequently, and it works. Setbacks happen, and we experience them on this trip, as always, and we'll share those details with you as well.
Absolutely. So let's start from the beginning, which was back on May 4th. We had a very early flight out of our local airport with a connection connection as well. Our airport doesn't actually offer direct flights to Orlando, which is too bad. We would love it if it did.
Yeah, it would be nice, yeah.
Actually, we shouldn't say that. Yep. It actually does, but usually only during the March break and not every day of the week. So anyways, our flight was at 6:15. So we got up around 3:45. We had already packed everything the night before. We'd actually taken the day off work, both of us. Yep. So that really helped us out a lot.
Exactly, for sure.
And just had a couple of last minute things to add, such as my hair straightener, because my hair gets crazy in Florida. So we got ready. We made the kids some peanut butter sandwiches, and then we got them up at the last possible minute, got them dressed, and away we went. They literally just rolled out of bed, dressed, in the car. The flights were super smooth. We grabbed a quick snack between flights and got into Orlando just before 5 p.m. So we've mentioned this before, but we always do carry on for a week trip.
Agreed.
It is necessity for us. We roll our clothes super tight, and it allows us to fit everything we need. And we always have extra space in the kids' bags because their clothes really aren't that big. They're so small and they roll very nicely.
Agreed.
So we can always pack our park bags, extra shoes, similar things like that in their bag. When it's just Oliver and I, we actually have to make it work, and we do, because we only had 2 suitcases at that point. But anyways, we got off the plane. We already had everything we needed with us, and we went to level 2 from B Terminal to grab our Uber.
Yeah. Pro tip here, the ride shares are actually above a level where you would grab like the Mirrors Connect driven by Sunshine and the other kind of shuttle services. It took us a few trips to finally get this right.
I think this is the first time we got it perfectly.
No, last trip we got it right too. You're right. Yeah. But it did take us a few. But now we have it down to a science. Okay. So we hailed an Uber and waited no more than 3 or 4 minutes for that. There's always so many available. So don't worry about that if that's your plan.
I think they literally just have a spot where they all hang out and just wait for the next run.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. So I often get asked what the price is. And I was actually able to go back to our most recent trips from the airport and back just to see some of the prices and just to give you an idea. So it usually fluctuates somewhere between $44 and $61. That's average year over year over the last few years. This trip, the price for both the to and return trips were $55. They just happened to both be $55. And those were both Uber XL, so it is a little bit more expensive. Uber X would have been cheaper. Uber Comfort also usually is around the same price or a little cheaper. When it's just Lucy and I, we do X or Comfort, whatever is faster. But when we have the kids with us, we opt for XL because there's 4 of us. And while we would fit in a regular Uber, since we travel light, the extra space is just nice for everyone, including the Uber driver, right?
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Yeah.
So we got to our resort, and reminder that we stayed at the Wilderness Lodge this time. So we got there just before 6 p.m. Our kids were pretty wired, and they were on Central Time. So it was only 4 p.m. for them. So we had checked in via the My Disney Experience app. So we literally just used our magic bands to get into the room. Everyone got their swimsuits on pretty much right away, and we headed right down to the pool. The main pool at Wilderness Lodge is so nice. It's set in the middle of the back of the resort, and it has a great slide for our kids. They went up and down that slide all day long. It was great. They had so much fun.
Yeah, there's also a splash park there for the really little ones, which our kids are already too big for. So, but it is there for you if you have smaller children.
Yeah, it's a great little setup for them.
Yeah, 100%. And for the record, there's a second, more leisure pool right next to the Boulder Ridge Villas, which is where we were staying. We actually didn't go to it because the kids wanted to go on the slide, which is fair, right? After the swim, we went back upstairs, and had we been smart, we would have just joined the walk-up wait list for Geyser Point then. But I didn't have my phone with me, so we didn't. We only did it when we got changed and we're heading down to eat, and the wait was over an hour. So we explored the resort a little. We checked out the gift shop, picked up our bread, peanut butter, coffee cream for the morning, and we also grabbed our customary fridge magnet. So we have one from Wilderness Lodge now. We visited the Wilderness Lodge many times before to dine at Geyser Point and storybook dining at Artist Point, but we've never actually slept there, like actually stayed there. It took a little longer than we had anticipated to get seated for Geyser Point, but it was worth the wait. The kids both had cheeseburgers, and Lucy and I... Actually, Lucy, you had the steak sandwich.
I had the steak sandwich, yeah.
And I had Old Faithful, right? The bison burger.
You like that one a lot.
It's always so good here. So everyone enjoyed their food. It was super yummy. We hadn't had anything super substantial up to that point in the day, so we were all super hungry. Lucy and I both had the sangria, which was super tasty.
Super yummy, yeah.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend that one. So we don't often order alcoholic drinks when we have the kids with us, but we kicked off our vacation with this one, and it was really good.
Yeah, it was super tasty there. So then after that, we went back up to the room. Everybody got showered. Oliver and I got our park bags ready for the next day, and we were set to go for our first park day.
Yeah, 100%.
Everybody got to bed, and we had a good night's sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone was excited for the next day, right? So it was like a little bit of a later night, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
but
it was.
We were still on Central Time, so it wasn't too bad. So day one, typically speaking, we always kick things off with Magic Kingdom as our first park day, and this trip was no different. So another question we often get asked is, how early should you be to rope drop, right? How early should you get up and make it to the parks to be there for rope drop to make the most of early entry, right? My answer to that is as early as you and your party are willing to get up. Okay, so the buses will pick you up between an hour and a half to an hour and 10 minutes or so before early entry, depending on how many stops are at your resort and how far it is physically from the park you're trying to get to. Like, so how far you are from Magic Kingdom, right? So for us, staying at Wilderness Lodge, which is physically super close to Magic Kingdom, we were up at 6. So quick note here, some people will tell you that if you want to get Genie Plus, you have to stay up till midnight or wake up ultra early because it sells out and you don't want to miss out. So I'm here to tell you that it's 100% not necessary.
I don't think we've ever purchased at midnight.
No, never. So Genie Plus only sells out during the absolute busiest times of year. And when it does sell out, it's not before 7 a.m. It's usually later in the day. Okay. So I bought Genie Plus when I woke up at 6, pretty much right when our alarm went off. And when I say when our alarm went off, I mean as I was scrolling on my phone because I was already so excited and I was already up.
Yes, that's true.
Everyone slept well though because we were all tired. But I was definitely up before our alarm.
You usually are up before the alarm.
So Lucy and I got ourselves ready first. We made a pot of coffee and slowly the kids woke up as well. We made them peanut butter toast and got our park bags ready, water bottles, and headed to the bus stop for right around 7.
Yeah. Magic Kingdom was opening at 9 a.m. that day. So early entry was at 8:30. We were walking to the bus stop from our room when 7 o'clock hit. So as you can imagine, we were ready to go and we had our plan ready to go. So quick note here, from the My Disney Experience app, you can set up your day. From the My Day tab under Rides, Show, and Lightning Lane Entry tab, you'll see the option to set your day. Here, you are going to select which attractions, shows, and dining options you're interested in, and the free Genie service offered in the app will make suggestions for you for under your My Day tab. But more importantly, it will allow you to select attractions that will be pinned to the top of your tip board, which is the other tab under the Rides, Shows, and Lightning Lane Entry tab. Pro tip: before 7 a.m., only choose 1 or 2 attractions that you'll be trying to get first thing. That way you're not going to have to sift through all the other attractions to get to the one you're really trying to book. You can always edit these later, but the first thing you want on your screen is to be as concise as possible.
So Lucy and I had already set up our day, right? This was already set up before we got downstairs. So I was booking Jungle Cruise first thing because like we've said before on the podcast, Jungle Cruise and Peter Pan are currently the lightning lanes that are going to book up the fastest. Lucy was booking the virtual queue for Tron, right? For Caleb, herself, and I. Sophia's still too small, so we're going to get to how we manage that in a minute. I was able to book Jungle Cruise for right around 10:40, I think it was.
Yeah, I think that was right.
And you got a super low boarding group for Tron, which was great. Yeah. I wasn't super happy with the time for Jungle Cruise. Reason being is that the longer you have to wait to make your second selection, the later those return times will be for the other attractions, as other guests in the park are making their first selections, right? So the earlier you can scan into your first attraction, the sooner you can make your second selection. Lucy and I both refreshed for a little while, and Lucy, you were able to score a 9:50 return time, which was great and much better for us, like in our early morning entry strategy overall.
Absolutely. Modifying your time is key. Like if you're not happy with it, just modify it and keep refreshing. Usually 99% of the time, an earlier time is going to pop up that you're going to want.
100%. Like we have pretty great success doing this, like consistently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we have 100% success in my opinion.
almost all the time. Yeah. It's really nice.
So our bus came around 7:15, 7:20 because it's such a quick ride to Magic Kingdom from Wilderness Lodge. We were dropped off near the gates, zipped through security, and queued at the touch points. So another pro tip here, don't join the first queue you see. Everybody does this. We promise you don't do that. When you come from the buses area, when you're arriving at Magic Kingdom, you're coming from the right and when you're facing the main entrance head on. And the vast majority of people are going to get in the first few lines closest to the right and everybody's just going to kind of follow in behind them. Yep. We weren't the first through security. Actually, there was quite a few people that went in before us, but we didn't stop at the first few lines either. We kept going left, all the way left, closest to the monorail. And we were actually the first person at one of the touch points over here. And honestly, it works every single time. Go to the left.
Yeah, 100%. And this might seem trivial, and to a certain extent, like it kind of is, because even if you're the first several parties, right? So the first, 20 or 30 people at the touch points, you're still going to get in the parks pretty quickly once they start allowing people to scan in. But the closer you are to the front, the closer you are going to be to the front when you get to Fantasyland or Tomorrowland, right?
Wherever you decide to rope drop.
Exactly. So it's been a minute since we talked about this on the podcast, but during early entry at Magic Kingdom, only Tomorrowland and Fantasyland are open, right? So Adventureland, Frontierland, Liberty Square are all open at 9 or official park open.
Yeah.
They don't open for early entry. Main Street USA is also open to everyone. So when you walk up Main Street towards the castle, early entry guests are going to be funneled to the right. And one person will have to scan in for the entire party to prove that you qualify for early entry, right? So like I would scan my Magic Band, these 4 are with me, right? And then we all are able to walk in.
Yeah, if you didn't have the rope drop, like if you didn't have the early entry, I assume when you went to go scan, it would just say not a resort guest. And then
exactly.
you would just have to stick on Main Street.
Yeah, 100%.
Take some nice photos.
Exactly. And if you are there for early entry and you don't qualify because you're staying off site or whatever, you can walk up and down Main Street. You can visit the shops. You can take photos in front of Cinderella's castle.
Starbucks coffee.
Yeah, 100%.
Like there's lots that you can do in Magic Kingdom if you're not rope dropping.
Yeah, 100%. From that early entry touch point, though, you can head either towards Fantasyland to the right of the castle. You'll be stopped right in front of Cheshire Cafe, essentially right before Mad Tea Party. Or you can head towards Tomorrowland. You'll be stopped on the far end of the bridge that leads to Tomorrowland from the hub. Most people who queue at Fantasyland are going to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, right? And that's stands to reason.
Yeah.
And those who head to Tomorrowland are headed to Space Mountain. We headed to Fantasyland. We were right near the front of the actual physical rope. They usually let people in somewhere around 7:45 to 8 o'clock, depending on the day, right? From the front entrance.
Yeah.
And then, you know, from 7:45 to 8 o'clock on to like 8:30 when they actually open the park is where you'll wait before you actually head towards Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Space Mountain, wherever you queued at.
Yeah, absolutely. Usually when you get to the rope, there's time. If one of you in your party has to go to the bathroom, there's, you know, like there's time to do all that stuff.
100%. And there is a washroom right beside Cheshire Cafe, which is super convenient.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one thing to note here for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, the queue, and I use this term extremely lightly because it's just a giant glob of people that can all start walking at once towards this attraction. When the cast members give the all clear, you'll be asked to walk behind the cast members and hug the wall that lines the attraction as cast members escort you towards the tiny little side-by-side entrance. The problem is that everyone is trying to maintain where they are in this glob of people, and you're funneled into a much smaller space. So it's an absolute mess. I actually hate this part. It's terrible. So until you get to the attraction queue itself, when you're back side to side with your party, it's probably the least pleasant attraction rope drop in all of Walt Disney World. Having said that, though, it is worth it because it always has a really long wait, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and it really does not let up all day long.
No, agreed, 100%. Like, and Lucy hit it like head on. Like, it is just literally like a giant like mob of people going towards, you know, the side-by-side entrance of like the rope where the queue is.
Trying to get first in line.
Yeah, 100%.
And trying to keep up with your party who might be moving a little faster than you. Adults shoving children out of the way. I've seen it.
Yeah, and like, and again, like that's the most uncomfortable part of the day. Yeah. After that, as soon as you're side by side, you're in the queue. The rest of the morning is all good.
Everybody's behaving properly.
Exactly. That's just that's the least pleasurable part of the morning. Okay, and the big thing is that it's not on Genie Plus, right? So it is an individual lighting lane, and that's an additional purchase. So if you want to skip the standby queue. Later in the day, you'd have to purchase that.
Yeah,
otherwise,
I think it was $11 when we were there.
Yeah, which isn't bad. But because like consistently, Rise of the Resistance is always $20.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So it is on like the lower end of the prices for individual lightning lanes. But if you don't want to pay for it, rope dropping is a great way to skip the queue because your wait time is not going to be any lower. It stays long the entire day.
Absolutely.
It's like beyond an hour pretty much all day.
Now, having said all of that, when we made it through the glob of people unscathed, and we were the first few trains of the day. So we made it out of that ride fairly quickly, and we went straight to Peter Pan. So if you listened to our podcast before, you'll know that we suggest this. If you rope drop Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, head right to Peter Pan after. Many people will have went here as well, and the wait time has already listed something probably around 40 minutes or more. So get in line. We promise you your wait time is not going to be that long.
Yep.
We have timed it each time. It is never that long, ever, ever, ever. We've tried this multiple times. Never fails. We wait maybe just under 20 minutes to ride Peter Pan after Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Yep. And like this holds up true for every park. Yeah. Wait times first thing in the morning are inflated, but actual experience wait times won't have caught up to that yet. So don't be afraid to get in line for the second attraction, even if it has a long posted wait, because you'll almost certainly wait around like half that time on average.
Absolutely. Our son doesn't have much patience. So we usually set a timer just so that he knows he's not actually waiting that long. And we've never waited the wait time.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was again, like 40 minutes and we waited like 18 or something. Like it's usually about half the time. So after Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and Peter Pan, it was right around when park officially opened to all guests. So we headed for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which had a posted 10-minute wait, but it was a walk-on. Basically, the time it took from the entrance to where they put you on the train is the amount of time it took, right? And the wait time stayed low, so we actually did it twice back to back. From there, we head into our lightning lane for Jungle Cruise. So another lesser known fact is that you can scan into your lightning lane 5 minutes early and 15 minutes late. So for example, if your lightning lane is at 9:50, you can scan in right at 9:45 and it'll glow green. I promise you. Okay, you're good to go. And now you can make that second selection 5 minutes sooner, which may not seem like much, but again, it can make the difference between much earlier return time. From there, we were all feeling peckish, so we headed into Fantasyland and went to Gaston's Tavern for one of our favorite snacks in Magic Kingdom, and that's the cinnamon roll over there.
So good.
Yeah. In our opinion, it's better than the large Mickey-shaped cinnamon rolls you can find in the parks, right? Yeah. It's pretty big as well, so it's definitely shareable. We ordered 2 of them. The kids shared one, and Lucy and I shared one.
Yeah, we had a couple iced coffees. It was perfect. It was a good way to just take a breath after a little bit of a busier morning and then just keep going afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
So after this, we headed into Tomorrowland for our Tron boarding group. So a couple of things here. A boarding group is essentially a timed standby queue. So Tron has individual lightning lanes, which will be a quick turnaround, but you can wait quite a while in the virtual queue. It's not always super long, but you will wait longer than you would in the lightning lane.
I guarantee it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So since Sophia is too small, we use rider switch for Tron. So if you have someone in your party who's unable to ride, make sure to use this. So essentially the cast member at the front of the attraction scanned Lucy and Caleb's band, since Lucy was going to wait with Sophia while Caleb and I waited in the virtual queue line. Lucy then gets a rider switch entitlement and she's able to bring somebody else with her. So obviously she's bringing Caleb a second time. When they come back, when Lucy and Caleb come back to Tron, they enter the lightning lane queue. They don't have to wait in the virtual queue a second time. That's the best part, right? Is that our son basically gets to ride it back to back and he doesn't have to wait in the virtual queue twice, okay? Little caveat here, we always say this on the show, but things don't always go as planned. So one side of Tron wasn't working, so the line was ultra slow for Caleb and I. Yeah, 100%. Right. So we were in that virtual queue for like an hour and 15 minutes. And little man was pretty patient, but of course he had to pee midway through. But they actually stopped letting people from the virtual queue in line. So nobody was coming in after us. So we were actually able to talk to the cast members. We went out, went to the washroom, came back in, and then it started flowing a little bit faster and we finally got on. And then it actually shut down completely.
Yes,
right?
It did. Yeah.
So after we got off, it wasn't even available for you to go back. So we switched gears a little bit there.
Yeah. So while Tron was actually down, not working at all, we did a couple more attractions such as I think we did Buzz Lightyear, Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, and then we actually grabbed some ice cream too from Storybook Treats. This is a great place to stop for standard soft serve in the park. Our kids don't really need fancy ice cream. They just like soft serve, so this was perfect. And we also watched the 3:00 Festival of Fantasies parade. So another pro tip here, if you're not super set on watching the parade from Main Street, catch it from Liberty Square
or Frontierland.
Yeah, absolutely. It kicks off in Frontierland. It's less crowded over there, actually. A lot of people seem to like to watch it near the castle. So it always is a lot less crowded there. And you don't have to find your spot until basically a few minutes before the parade starts. We watched it from Liberty Square near the entrance of the Ye Old Christmas Shop, and that's actually one of our favorite go-to places to catch this parade. Yeah,
100%. We've watched the parade from there multiple times. It's a great spot, and you don't have to go super early. Another great spot is actually on the water side of Frontierland. Like there's like that kind of spot where there's like a rock wall, and nobody ever stands there. Yeah, nobody. That's another good spot as well.
Yeah, true.
After that, Tron was back up and running, so Lucy and Caleb went to ride that. I stayed in Fantasyland with Sophia, and at her request, we rode Carousel and Behind Cinderella Castle and the Teacups. After that, we were trying to kill some time before our CRT reservation, right, or Cinderella's Royal Table, which was at 5:15. We were on our way to ride Big Thunder Mountain Railroad with our lightning lane when I got a text from Cinderella's Royal Table saying that they were able to take us sooner, around 4:40. So this was a first for us.
We've never had that happen before.
100%. We've never had that happen. The text said to reply if we wanted to keep our original time, but everyone was hungry, so we went. Cinderella was on a break from her spot in the entrance, so we went up, but we came back down before dessert to take our photo with her. Our table this time wasn't quite as good as last time. Like last time, we were right by the windows overlooking Main Street.
It was hard to beat that table.
Yeah, 100%. Like that was the best table. But having said that, Kay, it's not really a complaint. It's more of an observation. Kara's table was still good. Lucy and I both had the braised beef to start and the grilled filet mignon for our entree. The kids had steak with corn and fries, which I was surprised they had steak. We don't normally...
I don't think they had ever had steak before. Our son devoured it. He loved it. And our daughter enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, 100%. So that was a nice surprise. For dessert, they had previously like build your own cupcake for the kids, but
and they thought that was so cool.
Yeah, they did. They were looking forward to it, but it was replaced by the Sword in the Stone, which is a sweet treat essentially with marshmallow mousse. Okay, so our waitress said the cupcakes had only been off the menu for a couple weeks, and she's not sure if or when they're going to be back. Essentially, I had the cheesecake, and Lucy had the floating island, which is a raspberry meringue with tropical fruit coulis and like a plant-based ganache thing. And you were just okay on it.
It was just okay. It was very tart, but it wasn't terrible, like I said, but it was just okay.
Yeah, same. Mine cheesecake too wasn't anything special. Yeah. It was cute though. It looked
cute,
like
the way it was set
presented.
up.
Yeah, it was
presented.
like little Swiss cheese wedges.
I will say 10 out of 10 for presentation.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So overall, okay, another great experience for us at Cinderella's Royal Table. We would definitely recommend it as a bucket list for first timers, or even if you've been to Disney before, but you've never experienced it. Yes, it's expensive, but really it's so worth it. And I asked the kids while we were having lunch at the airport on our connecting flight home what their favorite meal was for this trip, and they both said Cinderella's Royal Table, so something to consider there. You know your kids best, so if you think it's something they'd enjoy and it's in the budget, it's definitely worth adding to your itinerary.
Absolutely. So after supper, our kids were really tired because it had been a long day in the sun, just going from ride to ride. So we were debating staying for Happily Ever After since we were going to have an early morning at Animal Kingdom the next day. But our kids really wanted to stay, and we knew we'd have an earlier night the following night after Animal Kingdom because we were going to have supper at the Wilderness Lodge. So we did stay for the fireworks. To kill time before the nighttime spectacular, we used lightning lanes on the rides we hadn't done yet. So we did Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and Under the Sea Journey of the Little Mermaid. We got spots for the fireworks near the Walt statue in the hub right around 8:30. We had decent spots. There was really no need to scope out a spot too far in advance. One, you'll be waiting a long time if you do that. And two, inevitably people are going to come and crowd your fantastic spot because everyone gets in packed like sardines. Anywhere where there's viewing is good. So about a half hour most nights is probably all you need.
Yeah, 100%. The kids absolutely love the show. Sophia's still really small, even for a 6-year-old. So I held her in my arms for the entire show, not on my shoulders. Okay, so we're mindful of the people in behind us. And Caleb was actually able to stand and wedge himself in a way that he could see between the people that were standing in front of us. So he got a good view of it as well. Sophia kept telling me how amazing and cool the show was. And I won't lie, I teared up a few times. Like having her and hearing her reactions while her face essentially was right next to mine and holding her up for the 18-minute show, it makes everything worth it. And it was awesome. After the show, we left with the masses, and we actually were super lucky because our bus was waiting at our station when we got there and the timing was perfect.
Yeah, it worked out very well.
A couple more people got on and we were back at the Wilderness Lodge like before 10 o'clock. Everyone had a quick shower, and day 2 was Animal Kingdom. Animal
Kingdom was day 2 for us. And usually this park is the one that opens first and closes first. And this was no different this time. This was Monday, May 6th for the record. So the park opened at 8 a.m., which meant the early entry was at 7:30. And as we said, the bus comes somewhere between an hour and a half to an hour and 15 minutes or so before early entry. Oliver and I were up at 5. We got ready, got the park bags, everything ready, and made peanut butter sandwiches for the kids to take on the go because we wanted them to be able to sleep as long as possible.
Yeah, it was a late night, yeah.
So like I said, we woke them up at the last possible minute, got them dressed really quickly, and we headed right for the bus stop at 6 a.m. The bus came not long after that, and we were at Animal Kingdom right around 6:30. So unlike Magic Kingdom, if you don't qualify for early entry, there really is no use of going to Animal Kingdom too early because you have to scan your band in for early entry just beyond the front gate. So you're literally just stuck in this little entryway.
Yep.
And there's no shops there, no nothing.
Yep.
And it's just not really worth it for you to do that.
Yep, agreed. If you do qualify for early entry, it's go time for Flight of Passage. Okay, with everybody else, that's where everybody's going. So quick note here, 7 o'clock hit when we were queued at the touch points, right? Because it was so early. But you've heard us say this before on the podcast, and we really mean it. Genie Plus is not necessary for the most part at Animal Kingdom. We didn't purchase Genie Plus this day, and we rope dropped Flight of Passage because Sophia was tall enough for it now, which was awesome.
It was so exciting for her.
Yep. So shortly before 7:30, they let us into the park and we scanned in for early entry, and I picked Sophia up and Lucy and Caleb on my heels, and away we went to Pandora. So similar to Magic Kingdom, once you enter the park, you'll queue again at the land just before you're allowed to actually go queue for the attraction you're heading to. So for Flight of Passage, or for Navi River Journey for that matter, right? Yeah. You'll be held on the far side of the bridge that leads to Pandora from Discovery Island, which is the hub at Animal Kingdom. From there, it's a touch better than Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in terms of experience. But not by much. Okay, so cast members will guide you from the bridge and directly to the right. Then a cast member will legit just plant themselves and everyone will do a hard 180 around this cast member.
Yeah, it's trippy almost a little bit. Yeah.
Everyone gets funneled again into a much smaller, like 2x2 or so space. And then you basically walk through the entire land and up through the entire queue of the attraction. The whole thing takes like at least 10 minutes or so because it's quite a long walk.
It is, yeah.
They did get us moving a little bit before 7:30, and it's not unusual to even be earlier than that because it takes so long to get through the queue. And then after that, there's also the pre-show, right? And even if you're in the first few guests, it'll be after 7:30 by the time you're out of there. But I do have a picture of us waiting to be loaded into the pre-show at 7:37, and we were very near the front of all guests. So right around that time is when we were on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So after Flight of Passage, we headed to Nabi River Journey. Now, this is where our day differed from our typical experience in the park. It wasn't super busy, but it was busier than we actually anticipated. Yep. We did not expect this at all. This entire trip, the parks were steady, but not super busy. I'd call them maybe about a 5 or 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being obviously super quiet and 10 being ultra busy. But this park, it was like a 7 or 8 on this day for whatever reason. Busy. We've never experienced Animal Kingdom that busy before. Yep. It was the busiest we'd seen it. Yep. So right after Flight of Passage, Nabi River Journey is normally actually a walk-on. Like literally we just go through the queue onto the boat right away. This time it took actually a bit of a wait, not long, less than maybe 10 minutes, which may not seem like that much, but you may wonder why we're even talking about this 10 minutes. Okay, calm down. But we actually, when we got to Kilimanjaro Safari afterwards, which is where we usually go to every single time, it swelled up to 35-minute waits, and it was a hard 35 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. We always say like the wait time is going to be less, but it was 35 and we waited 35.
This was the time that was actually bang on. So usually at this point in our day, Kilimanjaro Safaris maybe has a 20-minute wait or so max, and it's never 20 minutes. So from there, we headed to Expedition Everest, and the wait time was around 40 minutes posted wait. We waited less than that, but for us, this was very unusual because we were waiting in the line, and usually that can be a walk-on as well. So that early in the morning for this attraction to have that long of a wait, it's a busy day at Animal Kingdom.
100%.
Like it was weird.
100%. So it's not unusual for us to get a Flight of Passage, Navi River Journey, and Kilimanjaro Safaris all done in the first hour. And not to be all doom and gloom, okay, we still had a wonderful morning at Animal Kingdom. It's just, it differed from our usual experience. So from Expedition Everest, we caught the 11 o'clock showing of the Big Blue and Beyond. The Finding Nemo show, essentially. Super cute show as always, right? We love it, and the kids did too. From here, we intended to do Dinosaur, but again, the wait time was pushing 50 minutes. Again, not normal. Way longer than normal, right?
Even tried to Triceratops spin.
Yeah, like 25 minutes.
We were like, pardon me?
Like, what? That's not a thing. So again, we didn't want to wait that long for Dinosaur, so we actually made our way back into Pandora and had lunch at Satuli Canteen. Satuli Canteen and Flame Tree Barbecue are 2 of the best quick service locations in the park, in our opinion. Both
Agreed.
Phenomenal, and I would recommend them both for your Animal Kingdom day, 100%. No one had cheeseburger pods this time, however. The kids had cheese quesadillas, and you and I had the bowls. You had shrimp with noodles, I think, right?
Yes.
And I had the chicken with salad. From here, we headed back into Dinoland USA and rode Dinosaur. So the wait time had dropped to 40 minutes, and it was right around lunchtime. So our wait time was actually closer to 30 minutes. So if it was just Lucy and I, there's absolutely no way I would have waited that long for this ride. But the kids had never done it, and we wanted them to experience it this trip. So, and sure enough, they both loved it. So it was totally worth it.
I kind of knew they would love that one, though. I like it. Oliver, it's not his favorite ride. Like, he'll definitely ride it, but the kids really liked it.
Yeah.
So at that point, our kids were actually asking to ride Flight of Passage again, but the wait time was pushing over 2 hours, up to 135 minutes at one point. So we actually decided, okay, they love it a lot. And we went and bought individual lightning lanes for Flight of Passage, especially because Sophia could ride it this time. Yep. We wanted her to experience it twice. So we rode it right around 1:30 p.m. or so. And after that, we were thinking about calling it quits for the day and heading back to our resort for some swimming before supper. But Oliver and I actually spotted that Expedition Everest was down, and guys, this is a pro tip for you. It doesn't always work, but when it works, you can really be rewarded for your efforts. So like I said, we saw that the Expedition Everest was down, so we actually decided to grab a couple of iced coffees from the Joffreys in Asia, and we were actually going to grab the kids' ice cream at Anandapur Ice Cream Truck, which is right next to the entrance of Everest, when we saw a few people jumping into the queue for Expedition Everest. So we quickly headed over there, spoke to a cast member who said that they were just opening it back up again, but the My Disney Experience app was actually still showing it closed. It hadn't opened yet. So we got right on, and by the time we got off, the wait time was showing 20 minutes. So what did we do? We got right back in line, and it was definitely not 20 minutes. We walked right onto it again. So we got to ride this one back to back within a 10-minute span while other people were just making their way to the area because the app was now showing that it was open again.
Exactly. Basically, we timed it perfectly just by being there.
Perfection.
And like, again, sometimes you'll get lucky like this. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but this time it definitely worked out for us. We got on back to back, like before the wait time swelled again.
Yeah. And the kids didn't even mind having to wait for their ice cream because they were so excited to ride this twice in a row. So obviously, once we rode it twice, we got the kids ice creams right after that. It was the perfect way to end our Animal Kingdom day.
Yep.
We made our way back to Wilderness Lodge around 3 o'clock or so, I think.
Yep, exactly. We took the kids to the pool, let them swim for a couple of hours, and then we got all cleaned up and dressed up a touch because we had 6 o'clock reservations at Storybook Dining at Artist Point. But luckily, we didn't have to go far because it's right in the lobby of the Wilderness Lodge. When we were here last year, we've mentioned this before, but Sophia was just so sick. Okay? So I think you and her spent like half the dining experience in that washroom, right? So thank God everyone was feeling super healthy and in a good mood this time. So we really had a wonderful experience. Okay, so in terms of the food at character dining experiences around the property, Artist Point is one of the best in my opinion. The shared appetizers are all good. So the mushroom bisque, super delicious. The shrimp cocktail, really, really good. Hunter Spy, also good.
Really good flavors.
Yeah, 100%. We both had the prime rib and it was delicious. It comes with a biscuit that is coated in like a garlic butter and man, oh man, is it delicious. Mm-hmm. The shared desserts are also super cute and very good as well. So there's the Miner's Treasure, which is cookies and cream panna cotta, the Fairy Tale Gooseberry Tart, which is actually a tart, and then the Poison Apple, which is a dark chocolate and apple mousse, which is super yummy and very cute as well.
Absolutely.
And then they also bring the Hunter's Gift to the Queen, which is a chocolate heart that comes in a smoky chest. I won't say more on that because it is a fun
it's
treat.
A fun little treat. Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
The kids also had their own appetizers, which came with fruit, veg, cheese, and bread. And just the presentation of it is absolutely adorable. Yeah,
like there's like a little planter bucket, which has their veggies. It's really well done.
Yeah, it's just very well presented. And then they both had the prime rib as well, and they both really enjoyed it.
Yep.
The meet and greet with the characters was also super fun. Dopey is so great with the kids. We have such good photos and videos with Dopey. It's so good. Again, very expensive experience, but definitely worth it in our opinion. It is a harder reservation to get, and you do have to make your way to Wilderness Lodge to eat there. But again, in our humble opinion, it's worth it.
Yeah, 100%. After supper, we got all to bed pretty early. We were all tired from our Magic Kingdom day the day before, and we all wanted to be fresh for our Epcot day the next day. So day 3, this was our first Epcot day. And aside from Animal Kingdom, all the parks opened at 9 a.m., right? So this was last week. So early entry was 8:30 for all the parks except for Animal Kingdom. So again, we were up at 6 o'clock. Lucy and I got ourselves ready and the kids were still sleeping. So again, we made peanut butter sandwiches to go and woke them up right before it was time to get them ready. 7 o'clock hit when we were at the bus stop. We went all out on this day, right? So we bought Genie Plus. I booked the Lightning Lane for Remy's. We got a nice early return time around 9:05. Lucy joined the virtual queue for Guardians, and we booked an individual Lightning Lane for Guardians so we'd be able to ride it a second time.
Because it's our family's favorite ride.
100%. Everybody loves that ride, so we will ride it as many times as we can, and we'll make it so that we can do that.
Absolutely.
So we were on the bus shortly after 7 in the parks. We were there right around 7:30. So in recent trips, rope drop at Epcot is always a little different, it seems. So we were let into the park shortly after 7:30, like surprisingly close to 7:30. And we were all funneled to the right of the main topiary in the entrance. We were held there for a while, and then we tapped in for early entry and we're held again right beside Creation Shop until closer to 8:30, which is where you normally end up if you're rope dropping Frozen from the front entrance. Side note here, much like Animal Kingdom, if you're rope dropping and you don't qualify for early entry, you scan for early entry before you can really get anywhere in the park. So again, it's not really worth coming too early if you're staying off property.
From here, we were allowed into the rest of the park, and we made our way to Frozen Ever After. We were some of the first guests to ride the attraction. Oliver carried Sophia from Creations to Norway. Hot already during the day, so I'm sure he was sweating by the time we got to Frozen. We know that doesn't sound like much, but speed walking on a hot day, he was sweaty.
Yeah, it was already drenched. Yep.
So after Frozen, we headed to France to ride Remy's. The posted wait time was actually showing 60 minutes already. So we started the timer like we always do, and we waited 32 minutes. Again, pretty much half the time. It was worth it.
Yep.
That way we knew we were going to get to ride it twice because we were going to book a Lightning Lane for it eventually.
Yeah, we already had the Lightning Lane for it.
Yes, you're right. We did. Yes. Yep. This, by the way, was the lowest time it was for the rest of the day. So don't be afraid to jump in the queues very first thing in the morning. Wait times are never as high as the posted waits, we promise. After this, our boarding group was actually called for Guardians, so we headed back down that way because we love that ride. Amazing as always.
Yep, 100%. The whole family loves this ride. So it's head and shoulders the best coaster on all of Disney property and beats even the best coasters in Orlando. I'm looking at you, Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure and Velocicoaster.
Yeah.
So after this, we grabbed a couple of festival items. So the avocado toast and the fried cinnamon roll bites from Brunch Cot, both delicious. The kids like them as well, those bites. We got a lightning lane for Frozen and rode that. After that, we headed to Sunshine Seasons and got the kids some lunch. So we just grabbed from the ready-made options there, a sandwich with some fruit and veg for them.
Honestly, we were really happy with the options there because obviously we're on vacation. We were letting our kids eat some, fun foods that they don't get all the time. But it was nice to be able to have the options of some carrot sticks and some apples and a sandwich or whatever, right? They don't always need to go heavy on the junk food. Sometimes we like to have that balance.
Yeah, it's nice to have some balance for sure. And then you and I didn't eat here. We grabbed a couple of festival items right after. So from Sunshine Seasons, we actually headed up to Swirled Showcase. Lucy, you got the liquid nitro honey mascarpone cheesecake and vanilla saucers for the kids. I swung by Honey Bistro and got the chicken and waffles.
So yummy.
And then we met back up and snacked on all of that together. Super, super good. Those chicken and waffles were delicious. And that cheesecake was really nice as well. From there, we went to Pineapple Promenade and we got both the frozen dessert violet lemonade, which the kids really liked as well.
Yeah, they did.
And the violet lemonade ale, which was really refreshing.
Yeah.
And then from there, we headed to the Citrus Blossom, which is over in the Odyssey Pavilion. And we had the orange sesame tempura shrimp, which was really good, and the beer flight as well, which the lemon shandy was the hit there. It was really good.
That was delicious. So in the afternoon, we did a bunch of attractions. We did Test Track, Mission Space. We did our individual lightning lanes for Guardian, the Moana walkthrough. Our kids loved that one.
Yeah, 100%.
Soarin', Living with the Land. So then we had dining reservations for Space 220 at 5:30. This was our third time eating here, second time with the kids. And this place gets mixed reviews. We just can't figure out why. We love it there so much. Yes, it's expensive, but the food is so good and the experience is amazing. And we got lucky this time.
Yeah, 100%. We had like quote unquote window seats here because it's a booth beside the screens that look out into space, right? Which was perfect. Lucy had the short rib, I had the filet mignon, and both kids had the burgers and everyone enjoyed their meal. Our server was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and it was another great dining experience. I know we may sound like broken records, but again, we recommend it. It was such a good experience yet again. After this, we debated staying for Luminous, but the kids were beat. It was a super hot day, so we decided to take the long way home instead. So we actually took the monorail from Epcot to the TTC. Then we took the resort's monorail all the way around back to Contemporary, and then a boat from Contemporary to Wilderness Lodge. So not many people know this, but there's a boat that goes on a loop essentially between Contemporary, Wilderness Lodge, and the campgrounds at Fort Wilderness. This route starts every day at 3 p.m. and runs till just before 11 o'clock. Beautiful boat ride. It's really nice there. Super serene. Bay Lake is beautiful, especially at sunset. It was a really nice ride.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, we were back at our resorts around 8:30. Everyone got cleaned up again, and we turned in early for our Hollywood Studios day.
Yeah, 100%.
Day 4 was Hollywood Studios. So same thing here. For reference, this was Wednesday, May 8th. Park opened at 9 a.m. Early entry was at 8:30. We got the kids up as late as we could, packed peanut butter sandwiches for the road, and again, 7 o'clock hit as we were waiting for the bus.
Yep, 100%. We did Genie Plus and an individual lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance. I booked Slinky Dog Dash first. If you're purchasing Genie Plus for Hollywood Studios, we recommend Slinky Dog Dash, okay? No other ride. And the reason is because it'll by far, like head and shoulders, book before every single other attraction guaranteed. So it should definitely be your first pick. So something to keep in mind there. Your first pick shouldn't necessarily be the ride you want to ride most. And that might seem counterintuitive, but if you want to ride Slinky Dog Dash at some point during the day, but you don't book it right away, there's a chance you might not get to book it at all, right? So book the ones that are for sure going to get picked first and then prioritize from there.
Absolutely. For example, we as a family prefer Tower of Terror, but we all know Slinky Dog is going to go first. So that's the first we always pick.
Yep.
But like I said, we prefer Tower of Terror. Having said that, the time was after 10 o'clock again. So we did some refreshing and I was able to actually score one for $9.50. It was perfect.
Yeah, it worked out.
On another note for non-resident guests here, for Hollywood Studios, you can scan early before you even queue at the touch points. You won't be allowed into the parks, though, until the park officially opens. So again, not really worth coming here too early.
Yeah, 100%. We are at the touch points around 7:30 and we were let into the park pretty early. And we were at Slinky Dog just before 8:10. And Slinky Dog actually opened super early on this day for whatever reason. We were off Slinky Dog like well before 8:30. Quick note on rope dropping the attractions at Hollywood Studios. It feels much more orderly than rope dropping Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom. So whether you're headed to Slinky Dog, Tower of Terror, or Rise of the Resistance, you speed walk to get to where you're going. But then there's like a queue that gets established right away. So you're not in this big glob of people. It's a much more pleasant
queue.
Yeah, 100%. It's way more pleasant than road dropping the other parks.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
So we had intended to head to Toy Story Mania from Slinky Dog, but it wasn't actually open yet because like we said, we got off of Slinky Dog around 8:10.
Yep.
So that one kind of threw us. So Toy Story Mania wasn't actually going to open until 8:30, and it wasn't even 8:20 at this point. So we decided to head into Galaxy's Edge and ride Millennium Falcon. We got off of the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run right around 8:30, and then we headed over to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which we waited probably no more than 10 minutes there. Then we headed over to Tower of Terror right before 9, and the rest of the guests were being led into the park at that point.
Yep, exactly. It was a super efficient morning,
It
and
really
we got
was.
really a lot done in
We
that
did.
first hour. After this, we grabbed some bananas from Anaheim Produce, which is on Sunset Boulevard, and we
Paid
had
an arm and a leg for bananas.
Yeah, it was like $7 for 3 bananas. Anyways, anyways, it is what it is. After that, we made our way to our Lightning Lane at Slinky Dog. So we rode that a second time.
Mhm.
So after that, our morning opened up because we were so efficient in the morning, right? So we did Smuggler's Run a second time with Lightning Lane, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Star Tours, Toy Story Mania, and a Lightning Lane for Rise of the Resistance. So we had lunch at ABC Commissary. The kids had grilled ham and cheese sandwiches, and Lucy and you and I shared the chicken club sandwich, and it was decent.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. You've likely heard us say this before on the podcast. We like to split snacks and meals, right? So it's more cost efficient this way and leaves more room for more snacks. After lunch, we headed to Oga's Cantina. We had a 12:45 reservation. Lucy and I have been here a few times, but it was the first time with the kids, and we weren't sure how they would like it. We were standing at a tall table, but they absolutely loved it.
Oh,
right?
they had so much fun. It was
100%.
I highly recommend doing this with your kids.
Yeah.
Getting them a fancy little drink.
Yeah.
It was so fun. We got some great pictures.
Yeah, they super got into it. Yeah.
So fun. Caleb had the hyperdrive and Sophia had the Jabba Juice. They both loved their drinks. They guzzled them. Like the first time we went to Disney with them, we bought them fancy drinks.
Yeah. At Ohana.
At Ohana's. And I think it was just maybe they were tired. They did not even take like a sip of them.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit apprehensive. They guzzled these juices.
Exactly.
They
Like
loved
$12
them.
drinks that they're not going to drink, but they both loved it. So it was an awesome experience.
Absolutely.
Lucy and we both had the Best Bin Fizz. So we've tried a bunch of the drinks here, and this is our favorite.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's fun.
And like I said, right, the kids really got into it. The robot was playing the music and they were like dancing. Sophia was literally bopping while she was having her Jabba Juice. It was super cute. We have a video of her. So you know your kids best here, right? So it is a little loud. It's a little dark and you're not guaranteed a place to sit. So to be fair, just be mindful of that. You know your kids best essentially. And you know if they're going to enjoy that. But we weren't sure, and our kids surprised us. They loved it, right? So it might be worth.
They really did surprise us.
It might
That
be
was
worth
actually
giving it a try.
really fun experience.
Yeah, agreed.
So we're not of the opinion that Hollywood Studios is a half-day park, and we didn't intend to hop over to Epcot when the day started. That was not at all on our radar.
Nope.
We had dining reservations actually for Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, but we talked about it as a family, and we actually decided to hop to Epcot in the early afternoon and cancel our dining reservations. So this is where you don't always stick to your plan comes into play.
Exactly. So we decided we'd hop to Epcot, do Guardians, and then head back for a swim and supper at Wilderness Lodge. And then we said we'd head back into Hollywood Studios for Fantasmic later in the evening. So we got an individual Lightning Lane for Guardians around 3:30. We took the Skyliner from Hollywood Studios to the International Gateway entrance. We walked over to Beach Club and hit up the to-go window over at Beaches and Cream. We all had ice cream there. After this, we headed to our Lightning Lane for Guardians. We didn't stay long at Epcot. We took the bus back to our resort, went for a swim, and ate supper at Roaring Fork, which is the quick service at Wilderness Lodge. I had the pulled pork sandwich. Lucy had the salad, and the kids had chicken quesadillas. For quick service, it wasn't bad. I enjoyed my sandwich. The salad was just okay. Yeah. And then we had totally extended, like you said, to head back into Hollywood Studios around 7:30 to watch Fantasmic. But our 6-year-old was the voice of reason here. Basically, Sophia said she was tired, and so we decided to call it a night. The kids were in bed just after 8, and they slept solid.
And I think we were not in bed very much long after that.
Yeah, it's funny. So Lucy's like, she's like, you want to sit on the balcony for a little bit? And I was like, I don't know. I don't want the kids to mess around. So we just fiddle on our phones. Literally 3 minutes later, I was asleep.
Yeah. So I think we all slept really well that night. It was a good night for us.
Yeah, everyone needed a little catch up.
So actually, day 5 was an off day for us, and we didn't have to wake up to go anywhere. We did have reservations for Topolino's at 9 a.m., but we'd all gotten to bed really early the night before, so we were all up and at 'em just after 7. We all got ready to head out to the Riviera. There's a couple of ways that we actually could have gotten there, but we opted to take the bus to Hollywood Studios and then to take the Skyliner to the Riviera from there. Our kids love the Skyliner. They think it's a ride in itself. Yep. I do too. I love the Skyliner.
Yeah, 100%.
So just a quick note, the main hub for the Skyliner is at the Caribbean Beach Resort. So we switched to the Epcot line from the Caribbean Beach and we got off at the first stop, which is the Riviera.
Yeah, 100%. And realistically, you can walk from the Riviera.
Yes.
It's really not that far. Okay, we've done that walk before. It's actually pretty close. But we got on the Skyliner and we made it to our reservation just in time. Again, our experience here was out of this world. I can't say enough good things about this place. First off, the setting. It's on the top floor of the Riviera Resort, which is a beautiful resort. And the restaurant itself is visually appealing. It's very nice in there. Second, the food is unreal. Everything we have ever had there has been delicious. And 3, the character dining experience is top notch. You get to see Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy. Mickey is looking so cute in a painter's apron with like multicolored paint splotches.
Yeah, it's a great outfit.
Minnie is wearing a beautiful French Riviera themed dress. The whole experience is just so good. Our waiter, Edwin, I remember his name because he was just that good. Super generally nice person. And he was so attentive. He brought the whole table pog juice before we even asked for it. Lucy and I included. The kids both had Mickey waffle dippers with fruit and sausage. Lucy and I had coffee and both had the wood fire steak and eggs. And wow, it was so good.
So good.
And Edwin brought us a waffle topped with like an apple and whipped cream. On the house, essentially, for you and I. And it was so good. We left there stuffed and happy.
And then, of course, at the beginning, when you first sit down, they bring you that painter's bucket with
that's right. Yeah,
with the croissants, like muffins,
chocolate chip muffins,
and like kind of like an apple-y muffin.
Yeah, exactly.
Apple cinnamon muffin.
Yeah.
And then with a few different dips that you can use.
Yeah, they have like
spreads,
a jam, like a Nutella, essentially. Yeah, and then like a syrup.
Yeah, and so you get that too. So you get a ton of food here. Like it's such a great experience. Hands down, probably my favorite place to eat there.
100%. Like this, in our opinion, is the best character dining experience on property. If we had to pick just one to do or to recommend,
this one,
100% it would be this one.
Absolutely. So after breakfast, we reversed course and we actually took a little field trip and took the kids to walk around the Art of Animation Resort, which is also on the Skyliner. The kids were so impressed with the theming and the lobby. It's heavily themed, super colorful, and they were actually sad that we didn't stay there this time. I was like, hey, we'll stay there next time, I promise. Or at one point we will stay there. So it goes to show your kids don't really care where you're staying at, value, deluxe. It's all about the experience for them. So after that, we took the Skyliner back to Hollywood Studios and took the bus back to our hotel from there.
Yeah, a little aside here, the biggest damper on our trip happened right before we hopped on the bus for Wilderness Lodge from Hollywood Studios that morning. So the bus was waiting for us at our stop, so I ran to it ahead of Lucy and the kids to ask for them to wait. Turns out there was no need to do that. They weren't leaving right away, but during my run, my phone fell out of my pocket face down and it scratched the screen. Now, okay, it may not seem like a big deal, but it's a newer phone and I got it this past September and it's my everything, okay? So my setup for reels and videos that I share on our socials aren't made fancy, okay? They're all shot on my iPhone 15 Pro Max. I invested in audio before video, so I do have external mics which improve the audio from the phone, but my phone does it all. So I was pretty sad about that. Having said that, it still works just like it did before. It's 100% of cosmetic damage. So it is what it is, right? I'll have to live with it. Once we got back to the resort, we weren't on a timeline here. We had dinner reservations at Summer House on the Lake, but not till later in the evening. So we took the day to relax. We spent the morning and the afternoon at the pool. We got the kids several hours of swimming and we didn't eat lunch because we were all so stuffed from the big breakfast. After swimming, we all got cleaned up and dressed up a little bit and we headed into Disney Springs. This was the kids' first time to Disney Springs and they really liked it there.
They had a lot of fun.
Yeah, 100%. We went to World of Disney. They couldn't get over how big the store was. We checked out the Lego store, the M&M store, the Coke store, among a few others.
Yeah. And then we had a 6:00 reservations at Summer House on the Lake. This was Oliver and I's first time trying this, and we were really excited. We've never been there. It had just opened up just before we had been there last, and we were not disappointed. The restaurant itself is very bright and airy. It was busy and a little louder, but it wasn't bad at all. It just shows you it's worth visiting. We were seated in a booth by the window, and that was actually really nice. And looking through into the restaurant, it was probably one of the better places to sit, and we were actually really happy with that. We all shared the chips and guacamole. It was very delicious. There was too much guacamole for the chips, actually, but they did offer us more chips, but our entrees had already arrived at that point, so we turned it down. But had the chips been offered sooner, we probably would have taken them.
Yeah, 100%. You had the grilled tequila lime chicken tacos, and I had the grouper fish and chips, which were really good. The fries were malt vinegar, very heavy on the malt vinegar. It wasn't bad, but a bit too much for me. The fish and tartar sauce, though, were really good. The kids had burgers again, so you'll notice a trend in the food here, right? We don't fight the kids on vacation, right? We'll give them fruits and veggies to balance it out, but for the main courses, if they want cheeseburgers, we'll allow it. We're pretty strict with their diet at home, and we ourselves are pretty strict as well, so we do allow ourselves these indulgences when we're on vacation. All in all, it wasn't the best restaurant we've eaten at Disney Springs, but don't take that to mean that it wasn't a good experience. It certainly was. We'd eat here again and would recommend it if you're looking for a good place with lots of different menu options. For dessert, we headed out to Swirls on the Water, and Lucy and I both had Dole Whip vanilla soft serve swirls, and the kids had vanilla soft serve. After that, we took the bus back to Wilderness Lodge and called it a night.
Yeah, so day 6 for us was another park hopping day, and this one was actually planned.
Yeah.
We started our day at Hollywood Studios. The park opened at 9 a.m. again, so early entry was 8:30. So we grabbed the bus shortly around 7:30, I think it was. We purchased multiple park Genie Plus this day because we knew we'd be hopping to Epcot in the afternoon, and we wanted to snag a couple of lightning lanes over there as well. So when 7 o'clock hit, when we were on our way to the bus stop, we booked our first lightning lane for Slinky Dog Dash. Again, we got a good return time. And we also booked individual lightning lanes for both Rise of the Resistance and Guardians for later on in the afternoon. So quick note here, you can book 2 individual lightning lanes per day, but no more, and they can't be the same ride.
Yep, we were near the front at the touch points again, and we headed to Slinky Dog Dash first thing. It opened much closer to 8:30 on this day, so as soon as we were off Slinky Dog Dash, we headed to Toy Story Mania. It was basically a walk-on at that point, just the length of time to get through the queue, essentially. After this, we were on the side of Toy Story Land closest to Mickey and Mickey's Runaway Railway, so we headed there. Again, fairly short wait here, so basically just the pre-show and the small queue inside that leads to the trains. By the time we got out of there, the park was just opening to non-resort guests. We boogied up Sunset Boulevard and entered the queue for Tower of Terror, and it went down pretty much exactly when we entered the queue.
Yeah.
But you, Lucy, in all your wisdom, you said, okay, let's just wait a few minutes, see what happens. So guys, like we said earlier, okay, there's no science to this. Like the timing of Everest we mentioned earlier, it's really just luck and timing. Sure enough, it was down less than 5 minutes and we were on just a few minutes later. From there, we booked the lightning lanes for Smuggler's Run, Mickey and Minnie Runaway Railway to ride it a second time, Tower of Terror to ride that a second time, Midway Mania, and we rode them all again. We also caught the first time in forever a Frozen sing-along show, which is a really good show. We always love this one.
Yeah,
it's funny. Good. It's got some humor for the parents and the music that your kids know and love,
Absolutely.
right? So it's 100% worth checking out as well. We had lunch at Backlot Express on this day. The kids had Uncrustables with apples, slices, and carrots. You and I shared the Southwest chicken salad, which actually wasn't bad at all.
No, it was really good.
And we all shared the Wookiee cookie.
Which we love.
Yeah, 100%. After lunch, we rode our individual lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance and booked our first lightning lane over in Epcot.
So booking lightning lanes for the most popular attractions in your second park is actually really challenging, we're not going to lie. There was still availability for Soarin', Mission Space, Living with the Land, and a few others, but Remy's, Frozen, and Test Track were done for the day. So we booked a Mission Space to get our 120-minute clicking and refresh for a while, and we actually ended up grabbing a Remy's for $3.45. We got really lucky on this one, but it's always possible, everybody.
Yeah, 100%. From there, we hopped on the Skyliner and headed to Epcot. We had a bit of time to kill before heading to Remy's, so we got the kids some ice cream at L'Artisan des Glaces, which is in the France Pavilion, not far from Les Halles. And it's where you'll find those really popular brioche ice cream sandwiches, which is your choice of ice cream and sauce pressed in a brioche bun. So those are definitely good, and we recommend you give those a try. But the kids just got regular ice cream scoops. We then went into Germany, and Lucy and I shared a pretzel bread pudding, which was delicious. And we also got a couple of Schafferhofer grapefruit beers, which we love those. They're super refreshing and super, super tasty. Even if you're not a beer fan, you're likely going to enjoy this.
It was really good on a really hot day. It was
100%.
so hot that day.
Oh God, it was hot. After this, we rode our Remy's lightning lane. I refreshed again, and I was able to book a Frozen for around 6:10, and our lightning lane for Guardians was at 6:25. So we also had dining reservations for Via Napoli at 5:45. So we had a bit of time to kill. We went down and did Journey of Water inspired by Moana because the kids wanted to do that one again. They absolutely loved it. Yeah,
they really liked that one. I like that one too. It's really good.
Yeah, 100%. And it was super hot, so they got a little wet. So that was nice and refreshing.
Yep.
From there, we rode Spaceship Earth, and then we made our way back up to Italy for Via Napoli.
Oliver and I have actually eaten at Via Napoli a few times, but this was the first time with the kids. They each had the kids' margarita pizza, which is essentially a cheese pizza. And then Oliver and I actually split a large, half 4 cheese and half meat lovers pizza. It's a lot of pizza, but it's so good. We really like that restaurant.
Yeah,
it hits every time.
Yep.
So after that, we headed over to Norway, which is when we rode Frozen, and then we did our individual lightning lane for Guardians. Again, we had intended to stay for Luminous this day, but the kids were fried. It was so hot that day. So we took the bus back to the Wilderness Lodge and turned in a little earlier, and I think it did everybody some good.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. And then our next day, which was day 7, was our very last park day. So we usually start and end with Magic Kingdom, and again, this trip was no different. The park opened at 9, so early entry was 8:30. We did the virtual queue for Tron and Genie Plus. We booked Jungle Cruise first thing. We rope dropped Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and we're right near the very front of the masses. But best laid plans, right? So right before 8:30, cast members at the front of the rope drop for Seven Dwarfs said it would be delayed, and they didn't know how long it would be. So us and a bunch of other people still got in line, and we were probably in the first 20 people or so. We waited 8:40, 8:50. People just started to leave here and there. And then Space Mountain was also down. So that morning, Peter Pan jumped to like 70 minutes in like the first 10 minutes.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So we gave it until 9. And from there, we just cut our losses and we headed to Haunted Mansion. So again, sometimes these closures go in your favor. Sometimes they derail your plans entirely. And that's what happened to us on this day, right? So after Haunted Mansion, we rode Big Thunder Mountain Railroad a couple times back to back. And then we made our way to our Lightning Lane for Jungle Cruise. And Seven Dwarfs was still down at this point. It didn't open till like closer to 10 o'clock.
Yes, because you always have a hard time deciding, if we leave the line and then it's going to open 5 minutes later, right?
Exactly.
It's a really hard debate, but I'm really glad we did leave the line because it was still down, like Oliver said, an hour later.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
So after that, we headed to Sleepy Hollow in Liberty Square. The kids had Mickey waffles, and Oliver and I had fresh fruit waffle sandwiches, which is strawberries, bananas, blueberries, and a chocolate spread, basically Nutella, folded into a waffle. We love this. This is one of our favorite snacks, and it's definitely a go-to for us in the parks.
Yep.
The Adventure Friends Cavalcade was going by just as we were finishing, so we actually caught that quickly, which was always fun. The kids loved it. These are different characters that you don't always see in the standard parade, so that was a lot of fun. And after that, we were able to snag a really close return time for Peter Pan, so we did that.
Yep, exactly. From there, we were able to book another really close return time for Space Mountain, just as our boarding group for Tron was called. So we headed to Space Mountain and we were all scanned in and about to board when the ride shut down. So it was going to be a longer closure. So everyone near the front of the ride were given experience redemption. So an experience redemption can be issued by cast members in situations like this, but they'll also be given automatically if an attraction that you have a Lightning Lane for goes down. So it'll allow you to come back to that same attraction on that same day, essentially, when it comes back up. You can usually use it at that attraction or other attractions on the same caliber, right? So for example, if you have an experience redemption for Pirates of the Caribbean, you wouldn't be able to ride Peter Pan, Jungle Cruise, or Space Mountain. You'd be able to ride like Big Thunder, Haunted Mansion, or similar attractions. So we switched gears and we did rider switch for Tron, and it was running smooth. So Caleb and I did that, and then Lucy and Caleb did it right after. I took Sophia on the People Mover, and Space Mountain was actually still down, so we got to see behind the scenes of Space Mountain with the lights on, and Sophia got a kick out of that, which was really fun as well. Yeah,
we did a few more attractions while Space Mountain was down, and then headed there when it finally opened again and got to ride it. So right around 3 p.m., we left the park. We had a dining reservation at 1900 Park Fair, which is over at the Grand Floridian. We headed back to Wilderness Lodge from the resort's boat launch near the front gates. We let the kids swim for about 30 minutes or so, and then we all got cleaned up and dressed up. We took the boat from Wilderness Lodge to Contemporary and then the resort's monorail to the Grand Floridian. We just made our reservation.
Yep,
it was tight. It was at 5:45 and we were literally getting off the monorail at the Grand Floridian at that time. This was our first time eating here, and it was a great experience. You're going to get to meet Aladdin, Cinderella, Mirabelle, and Tiana here. It happened to be that Aladdin was not there for us that day, but he was replaced by Snow White, which was just as good.
Sophia got a kick out of that as well. So they give the kids wish cards here, and they have a wish ceremony where they hold up their wishes and wish them into reality, and the characters came by the table during the meal. It is a buffet here, so you kind of have to pay attention on where the characters are so you're not filling up a plate essentially when they come by.
Yes, exactly. It was actually really great to see Tiana and Mirabelle. We had never had an up-close experience with either of them, so that was fun.
Yeah, 100%. And the food here is also really good, right? So they had salads, charcuterie type finger foods like cheese, grapes, bread, and peel and eat shrimp, that kind of thing. They had pride rib, gumbo, turkey, pizza, mac and cheese, veggies, basically anything you could possibly want, right? So I ate way more than I should have, but it was our last night. And the desserts were also really good as well. So there was cookies, mini cupcakes, cheesecakes, chocolate cake, almost any kind of cake you could have hoped for, right? So it was all really good and a good character dining experience as well. We would definitely recommend this one as well. Okay, so I didn't like it quite as much as Artist Point and Topolino's, but it's still a very solid character dining option.
Yeah, I was actually really happy with the options at the buffet. If you have picky eaters, you're still going to find something for them. There was even like just buns that you could grab for your kid or whatever, and cucumbers and stuff. Like there was just so much options. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, absolutely.
After supper, we took the monorail back to the Contemporary, and then we took the boat back to the Wilderness Lodge from there. This was just actually a really nice way to kind of end our night. This was our last night there, like we said. So we let the kids hang out with their tablets for a little while Oliver and I packed up the suitcases for the next morning. We actually normally fly out really early because, again, we have connecting flights to get us home, and we usually get home early afternoon when we leave Orlando around 6 or 7 in the morning. But this time we actually opted for a later flight, and we didn't leave until 11:55 that morning.
100%. It gave us time to just let the kids sleep in a little. We had breakfast at Waring Fork, just cereal and muffins, and then we took an Uber to the airport around 9 or so.
It was really nice to not be rushed.
Yeah, 100%. And that was it, guys. That was our trip. It was another phenomenal trip, and the kids had an absolute blast. I was feeling down on our last day and our travel day, and again today, right? But we always get the Disney blues after our trip. So as you can see, some days were great, went exactly as planned. Some days we had to adjust based on what was happening in the parks, and some days we just made adjustment because we wanted to do something a little different than we had planned. Again, it's important to be flexible and to allow yourself to change plans or roll with the punches if you're forced to change plans. We know it's much less fun when the changes are imposed on you versus you making the decision, but pretty much every trip, something goes wrong, right? It's pretty much inevitable. If you go in armed with that knowledge, you're able to pivot when you have to. You'll likely still be disappointed, which is fair, but you won't let it ruin your day and you'll still have a great experience.
Absolutely. So we hope that this gave you a good idea of what your trip could look like. You may like our itineraries or you may not, and that's totally okay. Either way, we hope it gives you an inspiration to plan your best trip for you and your family.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for joining us today to recap our most recent trip. If you haven't already, find us on Instagram and TikTok at letsgo.to-disney. And we're also on Facebook. Our page over there is Let's Go to Disney.
Also, we would love it if you could subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. This would be greatly appreciated. This helps us reach more listeners, and we love helping people plan great trips.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great day, and we'll see you real soon.